Happy Tuesday. I am so glad that you're here. A couple days ago, I was at a fast food restaurant and I just wanted to share with you today something that the Lord spoke to me about. So, we frequent this place, I don't know, not very often, but often enough. And so I was doing what I normally do. I'm a creature of habit. And so I was ordering the way that I normally do. And all of a sudden, the lady told me that if I wanted to order that way, I couldn't use the coupon. If I wanted to use the coupon, then I had to do it differently. And at first, I got really irritated. And I was like, okay, Sherry, check yourself. Like, your irritation and um, your choices here have nothing to do with her. Don't take them out on this lady. So I didn't. So I said, okay, fine. I'll do it the way that you said that I needed to. And so I proceeded to order it differently than what I usually do. Kind of disappointed, but whatever. It was what it was. And so we started kind of chit-chatting. And so I was just asking her as she was preparing the food, just, we were just kind of talking about different things here and there. And all of a sudden, she just started to kind of tell me about all the different rules and regulations that the corporate office has been putting into place for them, and how frustrating and hard and difficult it's making it for the employees. She was telling me how much she enjoyed her job, but that it just made it that much harder for her. And then she's proceeded to tell me about some other, because this was in like a strip mall. So she was telling me about how some of the other employees in some of the other stores were being treated, and just how it didn't seem fair. And so I was joking around with her a little bit that maybe we needed to have undercover boss come and that would solve the problem. But as I was leaving, I got to really thinking about that. And I thought, God kind of showed me that there's always or usually more to the story than what we realize. So while I was I was quite annoyed at the beginning of our interaction that I wasn't able to do what I'm normally able to do there, and that all of a sudden, we can't do it with the coupon and this, that, and the other. Um, God showed me that, it wasn't the lady's fault. She really could have cared less how she prepared our food. I think she would have been just as happy to do it however she wanted, but the guidelines and the rules that were put in place for her to follow made it so that it was more difficult and not as enjoyable for the customer. So I think that we can carry that over into our other relationships. What about with our kids? We talked last week about our kids making mistakes. What if instead of just automatically punishing them or automatically assuming that they're being disrespectful or disobedient on purpose, what if we had a conversation with them? What if we dug a little bit deeper? I know I was guilty of that a few weeks ago. Two of our kids did something, and I immediately assumed that they were being deliberate about it. But thankfully, in God's grace, I asked them before I jumped to conclusions, and I found out that neither one of them intentionally meant to not follow my direction or not follow through on what I asked them to do. It was legitimately honest mistakes. So I was so glad at that point that I hadn't gotten mad or instituted a punishment or a consequence or whatever, because it wasn't intentional. So I just want to encourage us with that today. There's usually more to the story with every interaction that we have. Now, I realize that we don't have time for every interaction to dissect it and to take a ton of time. But maybe if instead of jumping to conclusions or thinking the worst automatically, what if we stopped and just said, okay, God, what do you want to show me with this? Is there something that I'm missing? Or give the benefit of the doubt. And then you can always come back later and address the situation, whether it's with your spouse or your child or a friend, if it's not the way that you are perceiving it to be, if it's not as good-natured or good intended as you think. It's always better to go back. Well, it's always better to take your time to jump to conclusions, not jumping to conclusions, than it is to jump to conclusions and have to backtrack and apologize. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I know that God's given me quite a few examples in my own life lately to start putting that into practice, and so I wanted to share that with you. So if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you would subscribe, I would appreciate it. Go down below. You'll get to hear about my membership, the different books, my website, the Cheer Up Podcast, and I am just really glad that you're here. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will talk to you next week.